We acknowledge and honor the Pechanga Band, one of 7 bands that call themselves the Pankulikan people, which means the people of the West, and upon whose ancestral land we worship today. We recognize with gratitude these Pechanga elders, past and present, who have and continue to care for this region. We seek to partner in continuing the stewardship and working for just peace. And now, we're going to sing Circle Chant. Now, we may not remember it, so we'll sing it once for practice. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for our souls, for our children and their children. Keep the circle whole. Let's do it one more time. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for our souls, for our children and our children. Keep the circle whole.
Welcome to the United Church of the Valley. As a progressive Christian community, we believe that following the path and teachings of Jesus can lead to an experience of the sacred in oneness and unity of all life. UCV is a community in which individuals can live out their inner callings to a variety of ministries. Okay. We collect supplies and provide meals to help combat homelessness, supported by the Southwest Action Group. We raise money and supplies for international relief efforts such as Chakoseka and Ukraine. Some help plan and lead worship. We support Pilgrim Pines, which is our church camp in Oak Glen, and also Loch Levin, which is in Minto, the Marietta Food Pantry, Emily's Place, and the Farm Workers in Duluth. We also participate in the Interfaith Council of this valley. We also support each other. We have church school for adults and children and study groups for adults. Welcome to you who are here in the building, and welcome to you who are joining us online.
All right, here's another one I hope you remember.
Want to grab my one?
Oh,
You're welcome, Barbara.
peace, salam, shalom. 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 all of our service. And all next week.
Is it okay?
Okay, call to commitment. May our communities be built on a foundation of justice and peace. May our communities live free of fear of economic insecurity, of violence, of discrimination, of political, religious, and gender division and hopelessness. May we be peacemakers and justice seekers in our communities, seeing no strangers, only parts of us we do not know yet. Breathe in your ever-present radical love, O God.
Good morning. The United Church of Christ 1985 Proclamation on Just Peace aligns with the idea of God as a creative force in constant becoming. The proclamation suggests that peace is a dynamic process requiring ongoing negotiation, reconciliation, and justice. The view of reality as a flowing, interconnected web of relationships where peace is achieved through mutual understanding and cooperation can help us to navigate what it means to become a Just Peace church. Today, I'll be reading, with little commentary, portions of this proclamation, mainly as it relates to the local church. I encourage all to listen with the intention of contemplation. After each reading, there will be a short time for singing.
Lucas, are you pausing there?
Yeah, I pause.
Okay, so I'm not sure whether we're supposed to sing right now or not, but let's use it as practice.
Yeah, we've got the
Is it
words
in? Okay.
the next slide.
Okay, you'll hopefully remember this.
I encourage all to listen with the intention of contemplation. After each reading, there will be a short time for singing. The 15th General Synod affirms the United Church of Christ as a Just Peace church. The General Synod affirms the following as marks of a Just Peace church, calling upon each local church to become a community of hope, believing a just peace is possible, working toward this end and communicating to the larger world the excitement and possibility of a just peace. A community of worship and celebration, centering its identity in justice and peacemaking and the good news of peace that is Jesus Christ. A community of biblical and theological reflection, studying the scriptures, the Christian story, and the working of the Spirit in the struggle against injustice and oppression. A community of nurture and support, loving one another and giving one another strength in the struggle for a just peace. A community of honest and open conflict, a zone of freedom where differences may be expressed, explored, and worked through in mutual understanding and growth. A community of empowerment, renewing and training people for making peace and doing justice. A community of financial support, developing programs and institutions for a just peace. A community of solidarity with the poor, seeking to be present in places of oppression, poverty, and violence, and standing with the oppressed in the struggle to resist and change this evil. A community of loyalty to God and to the whole human community over any nation or rival idolatry. A community that recognizes no enemies, willing to risk and be vulnerable, willing to take surprising initiatives to transform situations of enmity. A community of repentance, confessing its own guilt and involvement in structural injustice and violence, ready to acknowledge its entanglement in evil, seeking to turn toward new life. A community of resistance, standing against social structures comfortable with violence and injustice. A community of sacrifice and commitment, ready to go the extra mile and then another mile in search for justice and peace. And a community of political and social engagement in regular dialogue with the political order, participating in peace and justice advocacy networks, witnessing to a just peace in the community and in the nation, joining the social and political struggle to implement a just peace. Like Valerie Kaur's See No Stranger, the 15th General Synod's affirmation of friendship is essential to a just peace, with its idea of breaking down barriers and recognizing the inherent interconnectedness of all humanity. The proclamation challenges us to move beyond labels and binaries, embracing diversity and fostering relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. This approach echoes Kaur's emphasis on seeing every individual not as a stranger, but as a fellow human being and a part of ourselves we don't yet know. From the proclamation, the 15th General Synod affirms friendship as essential to a just peace. We affirm the unity of the whole human community and oppose any use of nationalism to divide this covenant of friendship. We reject all labeling of others as enemies and the creation of institutions that perpetuate enemy relations. We affirm diversity among people and nations and the growth and change that can emerge from the interchange of differing value systems, ideologies, religions, and political and economic systems. We affirm non-violent conflict as inevitable and valuable, an expression of diversity and essential to healthy relationship among people and nations. We affirm all nations developing global community and interchange, including freedom of travel, free exchange of ideas and open dialogue, scientific, cultural, and religious exchanges, public education that portrays other nations fairly, breaking down enemy stereotypes and images, and knowledge of foreign languages. The 15th General Synod calls on local churches to organize their common life so as to make a difference in the achieving of a just peace and the ending of the institution of war. The 15th General Synod calls for the development of 4 key components within local churches: spiritual development, just peace education, political advocacy, and community witness. Here are selected passages of the call to local churches now. We call all local churches to the inward journey of spiritual nurture, prayer for a just peace, study of the scriptures, theological reflection upon the work of the Holy Spirit, and celebration and worship that centers the life of the community in the power and reality of the God who creates a just peace. We call for the development of Christian community that nurtures and supports members in the search for a just peace. We commend to all local churches the use of the World Peace Prayer, using the example of the Benedictine sisters who pray this specific prayer each day at 12 noon. Lead us from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead us from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead us from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. We call all local churches to the inward journey of education, knowing that there are no easy answers to the creating of a just peace. We call for churches to establish the climate where all points of view can be respected and all honest feelings and opinions shared in the search for new answers and directions. We call for a steady program of just peace education and a steady flow of information on just peace issues into the life of the congregation. We call all local churches to the outward journey of political witness, enabling all members to join the search for the politics of a just peace. Just peace is both a religious concept and a political concept, and participation in the political arena is essential. We call all local churches to the outward journey of community witness. We call for local churches to make their convictions known in their communities through public forums, media, and presence in the public arena. We call for evangelistic outreach, inviting others to join in the search for a just peace. So now that we've heard and had a chance to contemplate portions of the UCC's proclamation for just peace, we'll be considering our own covenant for just peace. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the rest of the service over to Sandy and Lynn, and they will facilitate the discussion portion of our service. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Amen.
Reverend Jen.
At this point, she can be live.
So now they can mute us and mute them, and then they can have their discussion too. From you. Just send them in chat.
Don't we need to hear the instructions first, though? Okay, for some reason, my typing won't type, but we need to hear the instructions and be able to see the covenant. Thanks, Lee.
I think
There we go.
what Jen wants us to do is maybe first of all, let's take turns reading parts of it.
We have them on the slides too.
Okay, but let's take turns reading it out loud. Charlie, how about the first, we'll just go around this way, Stanley. With the microphone.
You need more.
It needs to, because of the people online.
Yeah.
If you don't want to read, don't read.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Be it resolved that we, members of the United Church of the Valley, declare ourselves to be a just peace church as defined by our partner denomination, the United Church of Christ. We thus commit ourselves to speak and act for justice and peace, recognizing that each depends upon the other. We do this supported by prayer, worship, and education to further the work of reordering the world.
Go one word.
The world.
We commit.
Oh, we commit both as individuals and as a congregation to work in the following areas: actively, vocally, prayerfully, and intentionally.
Okay. Just read, please.
In our local community and communities, we will both create and support efforts that bring greater inclusion and equality to all members of our community, eradicate violence and poverty, and help to shape the culture of peace where all can live and thrive free from fear of differences. We commit to actively loving the marginalized peoples of our communities, including but not limited to members of the LGBTQ+ community, peoples of color, indigenous peoples, disabled and other abled individuals, as well as the aged among us. As we practice wondering about those is
In.
our
In our communities.
in our communities. We will be able to see their wounds, hear their stories, and thus tend the wounds of those around us.
Can we stop here and see if there's any discussion or questions on
Good
that?
point. Yeah,
That section?
yeah.
I was thinking maybe we could stop
Let's
each.
give the mic back.
Yeah, I was thinking we could stop at each section and just see if there was anything, because this is, we are proposing this as our covenant, so I want to make sure that there's any questions or concerns about this paragraph of our covenant.
And, well, Let me just say a little bit about the process. After our discussion and input, and hopefully this will be sent out to everybody this week also for another set of eyes, then the next step is for it to go to the council to be approved by the council, and then we have to have a congregational meeting, which doesn't mean a big meeting. If we're ready to vote on it, we just vote and we're done. But that's a process that needs to take place. And before we can have a congregational meeting, our bylaws say that we have to have notice to the congregation 2 weeks before. So Rick is going to be at the end of the month leading us through the accessible to all piece as well, and hopefully maybe we can vote on both of those at the same time.
Thanks, Lynn. So, Charlie?
The only thing, concern I have, and I'm not sure if you talked to Rick about this, because if he's okay with it, then it's probably fine. But I don't think disabled is a bad word. It says disabled and other abled individuals. I feel like other abled implies that disability is a bad word when it shouldn't be.
There's another phrase that is used, and I don't know what it is, that I like better
Differently
than the
able?
word, what?
Differently
It
able?
could be, that could be it, because I know it takes the place of disabled, because that word bothers me as well.
Yeah, let's run that, well, yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Charlie? We'll run
I
that,
did, but if you wouldn't mind.
we'll run that by the HOA committee and see if they think that needs some wordsmithing. Anybody else?
Well, change is to end.
Yeah, I'm going through with all the typos and stuff like that.
Oops.
Yeah, I gotta get us around.
My main question is, I mean, we can have the designation of being a Just Peace church, and we can all believe this, but how are we going to, has any thought been given to how are we going to actually express that on a regular basis? I mean, so that it doesn't become just a designation that's there,
Yeah.
rather than practicing it in a very active way. Has any thought been given to that?
So we have some specific actions here, but it doesn't say how we're gonna do those actions. And the last paragraph talks about how we're all different and how we each embody this is gonna be different. But this paragraph does call us to create and support efforts that bring greater inclusion.
Right, I just didn't know if it'd been thought about.
Yeah, so, I mean, so that should mean something, right?
And I think our first week, we did think, and the first week we discussed, our intention was to discuss ways in which we're doing.
Why don't you guys just move up a row and then?
Our first week that we discussed things, who was the speaker that week? Was it you? Anyways, that was our intention. Each group was discussing ways in which we are already and what other ways we can. So we have begun that discussion, not that we've finalized anything.
And I also see that this is going to be for the rest of our lives, we're gonna be discussing this. So,
Right.
coming up with something now, we don't know, we don't even know what it looks like yet. So, okay. Where are we now?
Can I make one comment on there? You know, and obviously we're a small community. My vision, and I don't know, it would mean that somebody would need to volunteer from that, but for each of our covenantal relationships, the open and affirming, and for Just Peace and the accessible to all, I would love to see us have one person that was designated, that chose to be designated as an advocate. And that person might especially want to call our attention to issues that we need to be aware of, or things that we can do, or things that we should read or learn. And so that's something hopefully we can talk about at the official congregational meeting in January. But if there's someone that has a heart to kind of keep tabs on that, because we do need some accountability in each of these things.
You ready for the next section?
In the area of eco-justice on a local, national, and global level, in respect of our planet and of all life sustained on it, we commit to efforts to combat climate change, deforestation, and resource depletion by being involved with our governmental bodies through our votes and other means, making changes in our lifestyles when possible, and bringing attention to ecological justice.
Any questions, concerns on that paragraph?
Not if we're already starting to make steps.
In the area of economic justice on the local, national, and international level, we will stand through action and support against poverty, unfair and oppressive practices towards workers, consumers, and the environment. We commit ourselves to seeking out ways that all may live with dignity in all the sectors of industry, and will support sustainable production, fair trade, fair taxation, and workers' rights through deep solidarity rooted in love.
Anything on that one? Questions, concerns?
Among the nations, we will do all we can do to end war, conflict, and violence in order that human lives are protected. Knowing that preemptive meditation and peacemaking as ways to settle conflicts between nations, we will support measures that seek creating environments where all parties can be heard. We also pledge to speak for the rights of immigrants and support policy and laws that are both economically sound, but put equally in compassion as the foundations of all laws that oversees immigration, migrant workers, and refugees. Our courage will be born of joy, for joy is a gift of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about that section? What we just read, because this is going to be our covenant as a church. And so we want to hear if there's any questions or concerns about the wording or about the spirit and the meaning behind it. Yeah.
Go ahead, you're safe.
You are in a loving place. You know
Yes.
we love you.
No, I'm going to tell you how my wife feels,
Okay.
because she's not here, and I think, she's losing it. She's losing the attraction to the church.
Okay.
Because, she just feels that the spirit's no longer here anymore. She says that, there's no more unity. There's no more, she doesn't feel that, we're a family anymore. And she, like these things, she says, we're no longer a church, we're talking about everything else, but, you know, yeah. And she says, I miss having a pastor, or talking to a pastor, or hugging a pastor, or I miss, the times we had before. I miss the old church, that's what she said. So, and to her, she feels like we shouldn't have to be putting all this in place when we're already there. And I think she just feels that way, you know, and and it worries me because I'm worried about children, and because, you know, my wife feels that way, and I'm gonna be honest, I kinda understand her a little bit, but I do miss the old us.
When you say the old us, what do you mean?
The old ways that we had, we celebrated so many things, we did so many things, I just feel like, I feel like there's something missing now. I feel like, church is missing. I feel, I go home and I play out loud music so my kids can hear it and so Bella can sing, to other type of music as well. And I think the new generation is coming in and we're still, I love you, Sister Lynn. I love her music. I know it's just that she's still, I mean, Bella's like, why can't we sing other stuff, or why do we have to do that? Because this is what the church does. But I find myself listening to other people, and then this is what the kids want to hear, and they want to hear, I don't know, there's a lot, to me, I feel like the conversation with the children, other children, and maybe that's what it is, there's not enough children here, my kids feel like they're alone, you know? And I don't know, I mean, that's just, I'm just telling everybody how the family's feeling, and you can be mine too. And Sister, I'd really like to hear what you have to say.
Well, this past month, or however long we've been doing this discerning, has been uncomfortable for me too. Mostly because I don't like to break into groups and talk about it, and it's hard work. And I like, you know, I understand that, but I know that this too shall pass, and it's going to pass. And it just seems like it's been this really, when we became an open and affirming church, it was like this. We took a vote, it was unanimous. And so I guess I was expecting that kind of a thing when we talked about this. I wasn't expecting this kind of what feels like the laborious thing that we've been going through.
Well, and you stop and think about it, I mean, we're talking about the ecology, you know.
No, I get it, but I'm just like, oh, are we gonna do this again? And that's the immature, kinda, not immature, is the, not wanting to people all the time, part of me. You know, I just wanna go, I wanna listen, I wanna catch up with my family here, and I want, you know, so, I get it.
She, I mean, with her biggest heart, she loves to cook for the church. She loves to have food here, you know, bake to make sure, you know, people can stay in.
And tell her we adore that about her.
Appreciate it very much. Yeah. And sometimes it's her who comes up and says, hey, we need to, I've noticed how she noticed last week, she said, I noticed the bucket's not even close to where we were last year, you know? And so.
No. We've emptied it 2 or 3 times and deposited the money.
It gets heavy.
Oh, we were worried, thought we needed to do another dinner or lunch.
No, so we've digressed a little bit from our just peace, but this is good. We need to hear this. And listen, we want to hear all this. The worship team does not want to operate in a vacuum. We don't want to just put on services that no one wants to attend. You know, we want your input. We want to hear from you guys. Is there? Okay. So please continue to do that. And maybe we could just, you know, quickly get through the rest of this. But let's have a conversation about all those things. I mean, you're invited to the next worship team meeting.
Well, but we've got the visioning thing coming up in 2 weeks, so.
That's true.
Yeah, visioning. We're going to do visioning on October 20th, which is what we want for our church. So that's when we really need all of that input on what you guys need to feed your souls, to connect you to the divine, to uplift you and carry you through the next week. You know, we need all that. Yeah. And Fran, did you have something?
Yeah, it says, and I'll just read it, I don't know where we were, but, you know, among the nations, we'll do all we can to end war, conflict, and violence in order that human lives are protected. And so, knowing that preemptive meditation, peacemaking, as the ways to solve conflicts between
Mediation, it's mediation.
Mediation, yeah.
meditation.
No, mediation.
I know, I like the word meditation. I think that's what
She's
came out,
replaced
like
it.
in consciously meditation. Because we meditate before the 8 AM, the book study, and so we meditate.
See, that's
And
my
so,
favorite
yeah.
too, because we love Ramon de los teachers.
And so the mediation of peacemaking, what I hear is to end the instigated war. I don't think that's possible. And I also thought that this is going to be a vote, not, this is the Just Peace Church, here's all the information, vote on the information, because this is what we are doing. And I every time I hear this, I hear politics. And when I left the other churches, because it became hugely political, not anti-LGBT, it was just this sense of, I don't come for a political forum, I come to be fed and nurtured about, the spiritual aspect of divinity, and I don't have that sense of people individually, exude that, and that's not here. There's some type of political agenda, and not to say that's not in a religious community or faith-based. However, I don't come to church individually. I never have in my whole life to have that forum. I come to the different book studies that are presented, but truly, we are not going to end war. And I'll just put that out like that, and that's what I hear in this. And here's the question, I thought we were going to vote,
We are going to vote.
but that's not what's going on.
This is the covenant we're voting on.
The covenant is a Just Peace covenant.
Right. And we can choose to reject the covenant and say we don't want to be a Just Peace Church. Or we can choose to change the covenant so it does reflect what we want to be.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about here, is changing the covenant so it can be what we want to be.
That would be nice if it was stated here in some way, because
That's why we're having a conversation. Yeah.
That's why we're reading it, is so that you can see what you want to change.
Yeah, so you can make suggestions, and it doesn't have to be today.
No,
If you want to take some time with it
Yeah.
and read it and rework it and say, this is what I want to propose that we do with this paragraph, that's cool.
The other thing is, it's huge, it's so broad and all, all encompassing that to bite it off in a month or 2 months, it feels like it's such a hugely important topic. And it's not even about there's, small numbers and the, numbers in the body. It's about there's so much information that how do you cover it in a responsible, respectful way? Because it increases a lot of the, controversy individually, that there is a sense that when I walk away, it's not peace. It's supposed to stir things up, but then there's nowhere to take that. There isn't a pastor to go pray over it, Okay. So,
I think that much of these things are aspirational.
Right.
You could say we're never gonna end poverty too, but we're gonna try. You can say we're, I can't remember the other things that are on there, but
Save the
it's
environment.
aspirational, it's not,
but that we make active steps towards achieving that.
We do
Well,
our
Save
little
with
part.
hunger.
Right.
I mean, how we support the food bank, Duluth's, and so on,
How do we support
and
peace?
right.
we've already been doing that, though, my understanding of being here 1 year, so.
we're,
Because in our tradition, the tradition of United Church of Christ, since the 80s, they started this thing and urged communities to do this, and we're being part of that congregation in a way, right? So it's not out of the ordinary. There are many, many, many churches who have gone through this, and once you've gone through it, you've gone through it. We won't need to sit through many, many meetings instead of meditation.
well, and it's almost like, go ahead.
I I think right now, like what we're doing is we're just officializing it, because we already
Exactly,
did this,
exactly.
we're making it official.
Right, before we were open and affirming, I'm sorry, before we were an open and affirming church, we were still open and affirming, but then we were officially open and affirming.
Right.
We're out of the closet.
We were out. We were gonna be out of the closet with this too, because you could say, oh, well, yeah, well, you're Christians, of course you're, pro-peace. Yeah, are you really? We're gonna take a close look at it and make a decision, and the same thing with open and affirming. Oh, of course, we love everybody and we accept everybody, but do you really? And we do. We made a decision to
There's
say,
always
yes, we do.
ways to improve. There's always room for improvement and growth.
Yeah, we're seeking denominational recognition of us as a Just Peace Church, if that's what the congregation decides they want. And this is the covenant proposed by the council, and that's why we're having this discussion instead of just going to a vote, to give you a chance to see, this is the covenant that your council is proposing. Do you have any issues with it? Do you have any questions about it? Let's talk about it. I don't know that we were supposed to do that today, or were we just supposed to read through it? But, okay, I think that's what we need to do, is we need to have those conversations. And if it's something we can't cover in, next, we're already,
But let's get
I will
through
send
it.
out a
Yeah.
special email this week, and, saying that, we had a discussion about it on Sunday, and here's the covenant that's been proposed. And, here it is, please read it, take a chance to digest it. If you have questions, here are the people that you could perhaps ask specific questions to, and just so that you know, since you weren't here, what we're trying to do.
And just a few things, these things, you're talking about specifically worship earlier. These, obviously, the church is more than worship, and we're using some worship time because we thought this was an important thing that we wanted to do as a body. And we know that people don't seem to have time to find extra times, and so that was just something special, but obviously not normal. And the other thing, I think we should read the last paragraph, because I think maybe it answers some of my questions. And I had something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
We make this covenant knowing that we are imperfect people, and as such, our work in and for Just Peace will be imperfect as well, and we will look different in each individual among us. The work towards justice and peace is a continuing process, but we commit to ongoing education, public witness, and action to dismantle systems that impede just peace. Our list is meant to be suggestive only in the ways of the United Church of the Valley will respect the dignity of others. None will accomplish all of these things, but as a congregation, we will be active in the areas listed above, knowing that all people are children and of the same loving God, however we define God. And as such, as our siblings, we don't know yet. We only are asked to do our part.
Okay, so our conversation doesn't end here, okay? We're sending this out. Spend some time with it. We can have some conversations over coffee. We can do all kinds of things to try to see, where everyone is at, and come up with something that, folks can feel comfortable with, right? Or can reject completely, and
I was gonna say, it's just a shame that we have to use
church time, yeah. So you'll be glad to know this is the last one.
Yay!
Hallelujah.
I'll totally see. Yeah.
How is our group? Are they done? Are they ready to rejoin us, Lucas? You want to plug them back in or unmute them or whatever we got to do?
Yeah, they're unmuted.
Okay. Can they hear us?
Yep.
Okay. So we had a lot of discussion here. Is there anything from the online group that you want to share about discussions you may have had online about the covenant?
We didn't really have any discussion about the covenant, specifically.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, what we discussed was that this is the draft that was approved by council, and we can continue to have discussions because some of these, I think there's some deeper issues that need to be talked about before we bring this to the congregation for a vote. Do we like this covenant? Don't we like this covenant? Do we want to be just peace? Don't we want to be just peace? So let's have prayer. And I need a script. Yeah.
Here.
The script?
Sure.
This is it, right here.
Huh?
This is it, right here.
Oh, that is it?
Here.
I didn't read it. I didn't see anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Donna. You had a script. I'm sorry. Last minute thing, and we will talk about joys and concerns afterwards. But let's just join together in prayer. Loving God who is always present, we pray for all the individual prayers spoken and unspoken, written and unwritten, that you may journey with each through both the joyous moments and especially through the difficult and painful stretches. Loving God who is always just, we pray as a community for wisdom and compassion so that we may reflect your kingdom here on earth, always inclusive, radically loving, and based on your equality for all. Loving God who is always peace, may we walk as a community in your shalom, seeing no stranger in our wider communities and listening deeply to the needs and desires of all people so that your salam is here now and always. Together we pray. Hear us, O God. Thank you, Donna. Please join me in a prayer circle immediately after. We'll lift up our individual joys and concerns.
And could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Given the time and given our size, and why don't we just break with what we were planning to do? Let's bring the communion outside around the peaceful.
Oh, okay, let's do that. All right, online folks, we're going to take you with us on Lynn's phone to the peace pole to have communion together.
And you can put your offering on the way out, there's the change tray, and the way good.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Good idea. And the only announcement, camp is great peace to the mountain. Come up and get peace at the mountain next Saturday at Apple Grove.
Go ahead and mute us here if you would.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're muted, Sandy. We can't hear you. Still muted. We can't hear at all.